Hello, I'm Luke Abraham, and you might know me as the coolest guy around. This is going to be a bit of a quick one, just something to buy some time. Basically, last video I mentioned how I plan to work on the Halloween video next. Well, I may have jumped the gun a bit. I want to do a video every month or so, try to get myself to be consistent, and it took me about 3 weeks to finish the Corrupt Gems video. So, next video was Halloween, right? Well, I thought about it, and if I were to work on the Halloween video already, I'd be done around late September, which would leave me two choices. Either I upload it in early October, which feels way too soon, people haven't adjusted to the spooky season yet at that point, or I wait until the time I want to upload, late October, but that means I don't upload anything for like 6 weeks or something, which just feels bad. So to buy myself time before Halloween, I wanted to crank out something small and simple to keep you all happy. In my very first video, I took a look at the episode side effects from Ben 10, imagining our own versions of sick aliens that didn't appear in that episode. Well, while I plan to do a part 2 of that video soon, I think it would be good if we took a step back to redesign the aliens who did appear in that episode. Fourarms, Wildmutt, and Heatblast. That way, when we do get into part 2, we'll be working with all new aliens. No need to retread old ground. I'm not going to bother going over the rules like last time because they're basically the same as last time. The only thing that's different is that this time, we're not going to bother trying to base our sicknesses off of something that exists in real life. That's because after the last video blew up, I got so many comments from people suggesting ideas for what to do with future aliens, and a lot of those ideas were really good, even if they didn't have anything to do with real sicknesses. So I thought, why should I limit myself? So yeah, the only change from last time and going forward will be that we're just going to make up sicknesses. We're just going to come up with whatever we want to do with the characters. So with that out of the way, we can get started by strapping Fourarms down to a table and injecting him with polio.
Oops.
Okay, so it's not polio, but it will be pretty rough. Coming up with his sickness was pretty hard since he's basically just a big meathead. He's strong, he has 4 arms, and that's about it. Other than that, he's basically just a guy. In fact, I'm not the only one who struggled with this. In the original episode for Wildmutt, his senses are one of his most prominent powers, and so they got clogged. For Heatblast, well, he's Heatblast, and so his fire was chilled to ice. For Fourarms, he smelled bad and sneezed pretty hard. That's it. Well, for my version, I decided to think of different strong characters for inspiration, ones who had weaknesses, that is. And I felt like Deku from My Hero Academia worked perfectly. Just like early Deku using his powers, when Fourarms is in this sick state, his muscles are going to go into overdrive as his body struggles to fight the illness. For a whole species of meatheads who punch first, talk later, I'm going to say the Tetraman immune system is exactly the same. When his body detects any kind of illness, Fourarms' strength will triple down, making every punch from him decimate whatever it lands on. You know, in a last-ditch effort to get him out of danger so he can probably rest. This gives him 4 pretty good shots to take down whoever he's fighting. After that, his arms will be spent, and he'll basically be out of the battle. Also, I can't stress enough how uncomfortable being in this state would be. His muscles jacked out of their mind. I feel like this will be the closest Ben will ever experience to a heart attack.
I'm having a heart attack. I'm having a heart attack.
Anyways, that's my redesign for sick Fourarms. So for those of you who don't know, there was once a pop-up trivia from the show that said Vulpamancers, Wildmutt species, are able to fire off quills from their back once they reach adulthood. We never see any Vulpamancers do this in the show, adult or not, but there is a shot of Ben doing it in a comic one time, which, you know, he shouldn't be able to do since he isn't an adult. But regardless, this bit of trivia is what I decided to base my sick Wildmutt off of. For my design, when Wildmutt becomes sick, his body tries to expel whatever's inside him as soon as possible. So to do this, if fully grown, his immune system would force it out of his body through the unused quills sprouting from his back, building up the tips and thus making any quills he shoots out become poisonous darts, turning his sickness into a weapon of his own. As for when he's still growing and so he shouldn't be able to shoot out quills, we'll just say that once the sickness is moved to the quills, it still helps him feel healthier since all the toxins are pushed up and out of his body. He just has to wait for the quills to fall off naturally since he can't shoot them out. This is part of why I enjoy trying to find a positive spin on the sicknesses, because when you look at the original show, he's completely blind and has no idea where he's going. So I think being able to keep his senses would be an evolutionary necessity, right? Otherwise, any Vulpamancer that gets sick is basically doomed in the wild. Like, why would it be that a common cold is so perfect at killing a Vulpamancer? This isn't War of the Worlds. Anyways, bitterness aside, that'll be my redesign for sick Wildmutt.
Yes, for some aliens, getting a cold isn't just an expression.
Heatblast is the sick alien. When people think of this episode, it's mostly just because of the scene of Heatblast showing up. Having this cool blue look to him, and then bam, now he has ice powers. And I'm not gonna lie, yeah, it was pretty rad. They changed his colors without changing the fact he had fire coming off him, so he just had this like look to him, like cold fire or something. It was amazing. And the sound effects they used, god damn. Mixing new cold sound effects with the fire ones, rather than doing one or the other, it just fits so perfectly. It honestly feels unfair to Ultimate Big Chill that Ice Heatblast is so popular, even though they're such similar concepts. Actually, never mind, when you look like Hot Cheetos, you deserve to be bullied. For my sick Heatblast, I wanted to make sure he was more visibly affected by the sickness, with a more distinct silhouette. That way he would stand out more compared to Ice Heatblast. So I decided to go for a symptom akin to when a person becomes congested. In this new form, Heatblast's fire would become much more viscous, obviously being more similar to lava than fire. So rather than having his fire like flambeing around his head, instead it's gonna be dripping down. In fact, now his whole body should have this sludgy lava look to him. He won't be able to shoot fire blasts anymore, but instead he'll be able to shoot huge sprays of lava that won't go nearly as far, but would linger longer whenever he's shot, as well as causing way more damage. With enough control, I would also imagine Sick Heatblast could make lava constructs that would solidify in whatever shape he built, once it cooled that is. Anyways, all that together makes my version of Sick Heatblast. And there we have it, all 10 of the original classic aliens given sick forms. What a disgusting picture. I can't wait to add 60 more. In fact, I don't think I'm satisfied with this video just being 3 basic redesigns, so why don't we keep this train rolling and move on to alien number 11. Get it? Rolling? Because...
guys, what am I?
Now that's a heroic pose.
Real funny.
That's right, it's time for some bonuses. I realized I had enough time for some more, so we're upgrading this video from a small catch-up to a full Sick Aliens Part 2. But you probably already knew that from the video title. Well, whatever. For Cannonbolt, the first thing you always think of is his shell, the yellow circles and stuff all over him. It's his most distinctive feature, besides, being a face with arms and legs. Fat Mike Wazowski. So, once again, in an effort to turn his powers against him, I'm going to say that Cannonbolt's durability and shell doesn't just come from a perfect casing he keeps on him. We'll say it also comes from a shock-absorbing fluid that builds beneath the shell, kind of like adamantium in the MCU, but in gel form. In other words, besides being ultra durable, the reason Cannonbolt is so effective at protecting himself is because impacts get absorbed by the inside of the shell, at least in the direction I'm taking this. Buckle up. These videos are going to get more and more fanficky by the alien. To turn this power against him, we'll say that during this unwell state, Cannonbolt's shell will become fractured, unable to contain the shock-absorbing gel inside. So what does this mean? Well, anytime Cannonbolt slams into something, rather than simply bouncing off or plowing through, his shell will explode immediately, sending him flying in a much more intense momentum. The downside of this obviously being that he'll have a much harder time controlling his direction when he's bouncing around. But on the upside, he'll be a much greater force of destruction. It's a good thing Cannonbolt was never one of Ben's delicate aliens.
You think you can control it?
No, not control it, but I don't know, maybe aim it.
Anyways, that's my design for Sick Cannonbolt.
Can't anybody come up with anything original in Hollywood?
This version of Wildvine was basically just a repurposed idea that already existed in the show. For those of you who remember, in the first Ben 10 movie, Secret of the Omnitrix, Ben and company end up traveling to an alien planet called Xenon, where they end up attacked by Florana, Wildvine species. Now, for a good while, we all assumed this just meant Florana were just a much more aggressive and violent species than we could assume by watching Ben. This was even amplified once we got a pop-up trivia saying exactly that. But then Omniverse came around and tried to change our perceptions the same way every culture tries to open their minds. Hippies. In Omniverse, we meet Pax, Florana, who is the very opposite of his Xenon brethren. He's non-violent, obsessed with animal activism, and, well, to be honest, he's pretty stupid. But at least his heart's in the right place. Anyways, it's clear that Florana aren't these savage beasts that the pop-up propaganda tried to get us to think. So what caused them to act this way? Sickness. I'm basically going to take the savage Florana and interpret their actions and appearance as a sign of illness within the species. While normally surviving off of photosynthesis, like most plants, Florana have a possibility of contracting what is essentially the opposite of AGS, which, for those of you who don't know, is a food allergy caused by a tick bite that can cause a person to become allergic to red meat. So, in this case, we're saying the same thing can happen to Florana. but instead of being allergic to meat, it becomes the only thing they can survive off of. So in their desperate cravings, they snatch up whatever person they can find to feed. This sickness would also last longer the more meat they eat, causing it to thrive inside them indefinitely unless a third party intervenes. That, or they just need to lop off whatever part of their body got bit by this alien tick. Then they should regenerate and be just fine. Anyways, this is my interpretation for sick Wildvine. And there we have it. For real this time. All 10 of the original classic aliens given sick forms, plus 2 new ones, bringing us to 12. Absolutely vile. I feel like it's fitting to make this video now, as my very first video on this channel was the original Sick Aliens video, and if not for that video blowing up the way it did, I wouldn't have as much of an audience as I do, or at least not nearly as fast. I mean, who would have thought I would reach 1,000 subscribers? Seriously, I was hyped just to reach 100 subscribers. Hell, I was excited for 10. But here we are only 4 months later and I've got all 1,000 of you here. It's wild, I can't thank you all enough. The comments I've gotten have been great, so much support and encouragement has been flooding into video after video, except for the people saying I swear too much. Look, I tried to cut it back, but I've got a sailor mouth, goddammit. You're gonna have to get used to that. Seriously though, thank you all. I have so many ideas for videos and I can't wait to get it all done to show you. Going forward, I want to try to branch out from more than just drawing videos, so after the Halloween video, I wanted to try tackling a video essay based on Hazbin Hotel. Just yapping about something specific in the show. Well, 2 things. You'll see. But beyond that, I've got a whole list of new ideas to do, drawing videos, video essays, and more that I plan to sprinkle out over time. So I hope you're looking forward to what's to come. Thank you all for the support, and I'll see you all next time. Stay cool.